Let's get started with our first news. Khamzat recently opened up about his very first meeting with Arman, and what he shared might surprise a lot of fans. When they first crossed paths, Khamzat admitted he wasn't sure what to think of Arman. From the outside, especially on social media, Arman often gave off a flashy, confident, and even cocky vibe, but when Khamzat actually met him face to face, his perception completely changed. Instead of arrogance, he found humility. Instead of ego, he found kindness. That moment left an impression on Khamzat, and from there their relationship began to evolve in a positive way. Arman has faced his share of struggles in recent times. Earlier this year, he was scheduled for a massive rematch that could have pushed him closer to a title shot, but at the last minute an unfortunate injury forced him to withdraw. That single setback didn't just hurt his momentum, it also invited heavy criticism from both fans and even UFC President Dana White, who openly expressed frustration over Arman's inactivity. For someone who had been building so much hype, it was a crushing blow. Since that withdrawal, Arman has not stepped inside the octagon. The lightweight division has been moving fast, with contenders scrambling for position, and every month out has felt like a missed opportunity. Fans have been growing impatient, and the pressure on him has only increased. But despite all the outside noise, Khamzat didn't hesitate to praise him. He pointed out that beyond the criticism, beyond the setbacks, Arman remains one of the most well-rounded and professional fighters in the game today. According to Khamzat, Arman's skill set is diverse, his mindset is strong, and his character inside and outside the cage speaks volumes about who he really is. There are now rumors circulating about Arman's potential return. A fight against Dan Hooker has been talked about for November, and while nothing has been officially confirmed, that matchup makes sense for both men. For Arman, it represents a chance to silence critics, to regain momentum, and to remind the lightweight division exactly why he was once considered a future title challenger. For Hooker, it's an opportunity to climb back into relevance against a dangerous opponent. What makes this situation even more significant is that Arman's next fight may very well decide the trajectory of his career. If he returns with a strong performance, it could instantly reignite his title aspirations and put him right back in the conversation with the elite at lightweight. But if he falters, the road back could be long and brutal. Through all of this, what stands out is the theme of character. Khamzat highlighted that skill alone is never enough in this sport. Fighters who combine talent with humility and respect often find themselves earning support far beyond the cage. Arman's ability to remain humble despite setbacks, and Khamzat's willingness to praise him despite being a competitor, shows how much respect truly matters. In the end, both men remind us that while fighting ability is critical, honor and humility can shape a fighter's path just as much as any victory inside the octagon. Move on to another news. Things recently got wild between Paulo Costa, Darren Till, and the MMA guru. What began as a lighthearted moment quickly turned into a heated exchange that had fans buzzing. It started when Guru tweeted a playful invite asking the fighters to join him for a Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Zombies session. He tagged them in and promised 400,000 views guaranteed, joking about Moano not wanting to buy the first door. Paulo Costa was the first to respond, but instead of playing along, he went off in his usual unfiltered style. He wrote, "Someone knows what this fatty mother is talking about. If you want to invite me to something, invite me to a pool party full of thick Latinas. Otherwise, leave me alone." That set the tone, and soon Darren Till jumped in, firing shots of his own. He tweeted, "Who's getting real tired of that fat, smelly MMA guru? I'm tired of him now. Yeah, we know you speak your mind, but you're fat and definitely smelly. What's your comeback, mate? Mate fat, keep your mouth shut cause you'd get strangled in the street." Till followed it up by saying Guru just annoys him and should stop chatting. Guru wasn't about to back down. He clapped back, mocking Till's looks. "This bloated Mong Darren Till reacts to seeing me join an interview. Got a face like a drowned man found at the bottom of a river with rocks in his pockets. Probably not the only rocks you've had in your pockets either. No wonder your nose is so messed up. Go call out another 50-year-old or influencer, you fat little." Till responded again, asking, "Are you calling me a head like Luke?" Guru fired another savage shot, saying, "Holy, you figured that out all by yourself. For that kind of IQ, they should build a statue of you in Liverpool with knives hanging out of it. You'd look like a Down syndrome pop-up pirate." What began as a simple gaming invite spiraled into a full-on insult war. The back and forth between Costa, Till, and Guru turned harsh, personal, and absolutely brutal, making it one of the most savage online exchanges fans have seen in a long time. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That's why we'd truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Move on to another news. Who could ever forget UFC 229? The night Khabib faced Conor inside the octagon, with all the chaos spilling both inside and outside the cage. It wasn't just a fight, it was pure carnage, absolute theater, and unforgettable sport all rolled into one. Dana White himself called it the biggest night in UFC history, and the numbers proved him right. A completely sold-out T-Mobile Arena brought in $17 million at the gate, while nearly 2.4 million people purchased the pay-per-view, making it one of the most iconic events the UFC has ever put together. That night didn't just deliver a fight, it created history. Fast forward a few years and once again the combat sports world turned its eyes to Las Vegas. But this time the spotlight wasn't on the UFC octagon. Instead it was on Allegiant Stadium, where Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford clashed in a boxing spectacle that drew over 70,000 fans. The atmosphere inside that stadium was electric. The scale of the event was monumental. And according to Jon Anik, who has called both McGregor vs. Khabib and Canelo vs. Crawford, this boxing mega event may have actually surpassed what many thought was the UFC's crown jewel. Even Bruce Buffer, the voice of the Octagon, admitted that what happened that night was unlike anything he had ever experienced before. During a conversation with TJ DeSantis and Jon Anik, Bruce reflected on the magnitude of the event. He pointed directly to Anik and said, "You had 70,000 plus fans roaring inside Allegiant Stadium, attending the Netflix card, which also had a massive global viewing audience. The boxing delivered and the production was world-class." He emphasized just how huge this was for combat sports, noting the atmosphere and energy were on a level very few events could match. Bruce then went on to share a personal story. His brother, legendary boxing announcer Michael Buffer, had been the voice for the broadcast of the 4 televised fights that night. According to Bruce, Michael told him that the production team working the event was literally the finest production crew he had ever worked with. Coming from someone who has been ringside for decades at the biggest fights in history, that's no small statement. Bruce praised how smooth the entire night ran, calling it a well-oiled machine, something he immediately compared to the UFC's own standards of execution. He even gave a heartfelt shout-out to Jon Anik, saying he was proud of the work done and proud to have witnessed it all unfold. The numbers from that night tell their own story. Canelo vs. Crawford didn't just live up to the hype, it shattered expectations. Over 70,000 fans filled Allegiant Stadium, generating 47,231,887 at the gate. That figure is now the 3rd highest in boxing history, behind only the legendary Floyd Mayweather vs. Conor fight and Mayweather vs. Pacquiao. Beyond the gate and ticket sales, the night also delivered a defining moment for Terence Crawford, who etched his name into the record books by becoming the undisputed champion in 3 separate weight divisions. That accomplishment alone cemented his place among the greats. In the aftermath, praise poured in for the way the entire event was executed, and while debate lingers over whether Dana White truly deserves credit for the night, one thing is clear: what went down at Allegiant Stadium was a once-in-a-generation combat sports moment, one that may have even surpassed UFC 229 in scale, energy, and impact. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier has weighed in on the current pound-for-pound debate, and while he agrees with the UFC's latest rankings, he believes the situation won't stay that way for long. After UFC 317, Ilya cemented his place as the new #1 pound-for-pound fighter by knocking out Charles Oliveira to claim the lightweight championship. That victory pushed Islam down to the #2 spot, and for the moment, Ilya is recognized as the very best in the sport. But according to Cormier, things could change drastically if Islam moves up to welterweight and defeats JDM for the title. On his YouTube channel, Cormier explained his reasoning. He admitted Ilya absolutely deserves the top spot right now, saying he is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter today. But he quickly followed that with a bold statement: if Islam is able to beat JDM, it flips again, and Islam goes back to no more back, only because of this fighting style proven to go up to the next weight class. Cormier highlighted that Islam already has 4 successful title defenses at lightweight, and if he adds another belt at welterweight, that accomplishment would surpass anything Ilya has done so far. Islam will have done everything Ilya has done, but at a heavier weight, Cormier emphasized. Cormier's co-host Din Thomas wasn't convinced. He argued that JDM doesn't yet have the same level of accolades to make a victory over him more impressive than Ilya's knockout of Oliveira, but Cormier doubled down on his point. To him, it's not just about the name on the record, it's about proving dominance across multiple divisions. Moving up in weight and taking on bigger opponents is the true test of greatness, and in his eyes that would instantly put Islam back on top of the pound-for-pound rankings. Cormier also pointed out the current state of Ilya's potential matchups. Right now, Ilya is heavily favored against nearly every opponent the UFC might put in front of him. According to Cormier, Ilya right now will only fight fights he's supposed to win until he fights Islam. He broke it down with betting odds. He's minus 600 against Paddy, he's minus 300 against our man. That fact alone, Cormier argued, shows why the narrative changes if Islam becomes the welterweight champion. For Cormier, it's simple. Ilya deserves his recognition today. He is undefeated. He just defeated a former champion in Oliveira, and his star power is skyrocketing. But the moment Islam moves up and claims a second belt, the conversation shifts back in his favor. Cormier believes the combination of 4 lightweight title defenses plus a welterweight championship would make Islam's resume undeniable. In the end, Cormier's stance was clear. While Ilya stands at the top right now, his reign as pound-for-pound #1 might be short-lived. If Islam dethrones JDM and claims the welterweight belt, he instantly reclaims his throne as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Move on to another news. Mario Bautista is gearing up for one of the biggest fights of his career as he prepares to face Umar Nurmagomedov at UFC 321 next month. While many consider Umar one of the toughest challenges in the division, Bautista isn't buying into the idea that Dagestani fighters are unbeatable. He recently explained why he doesn't believe Umar is having the best camp leading into their fight. Speaking with MMA Junkie, Bautista said the aura of invincibility surrounding that camp has been exaggerated. He explained, "We definitely don't think they're invincible. They're great grapplers, they're all good. Usman is the champion over there, but it could just be that Khabib is an outlier and is just that great. Everyone expects the rest of them to be on his level, which isn't the case." Bautista acknowledged their strength but made it clear his team has the tools to deal with what Umar brings. He argued that Khabib's legendary run created unrealistic expectations for others from that camp, and while Umar is talented, he doesn't carry the same aura. He also explained why he believes Umar's current training camp may be especially tough. Coming off a loss to Merab, the pressure is already high, and according to Bautista, that could make preparation even harsher. Who knows? "I don't expect this camp to be a good one for him," Bautista said, "because someone like Khabib is probably just going to straight push him, just because of what happened in the last fight. Okay, you had that problem, now we're going to push you harder." In Bautista's eyes, that level of pressure could backfire. Instead of being a smooth build-up, Umar might be dealing with overwhelming demands from his team, particularly from Khabib, who is known for his relentless standards. Confident in his own preparation, Bautista believes his skill set and strong camp give him the edge. While many still see Umar as a rising star, Bautista is convinced this fight could expose weaknesses fans haven't seen before. At UFC 321, he plans to stay sharp, disciplined, and ready to capitalize on the pressure already weighing on his opponent. Move on to another news. Charles Oliveira is making headlines again, and this time it's not for what he's doing inside the cage, but for the frustration he's showing outside of it. The former lightweight champion was scheduled to headline UFC Rio on October 11th against Rafael Fiziev, but the matchup collapsed when Fiziev withdrew due to injury. Since then, Oliveira has been left without a confirmed opponent, and while several names floated around as possible replacements, the reality behind the scenes paints a much different picture. According to Oliveira, fighters who claimed they were eager to step in actually turned the fight down when the UFC formally offered it to them. Speaking with MMA Fighting's Guilherme Cruz, Oliveira didn't mention names directly, but his words made it clear that he was disappointed by the situation. Fighters such as Matheus Gamrot, Renato Moicano, and Benoit Saint-Denis publicly expressed interest in taking the fight. On the surface, it seemed like Oliveira would have no shortage of willing contenders ready to seize the opportunity of fighting a former champion in front of a passionate Brazilian crowd. But once negotiations got real, Oliveira says those same fighters backed away. Oliveira explained that this is something fans don't always see. On social media, fighters love to act like they are ready for any challenge, calling out big names and hyping up their willingness to fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. But when the UFC actually calls and the contract is put on the table, the story changes. Fighters suddenly start saying the timing isn't right, they need a full camp, or the risk doesn't make sense compared to what they might gain. For Oliveira, this isn't just frustrating, it's disrespectful. He's ready to fight, especially in his home country of Brazil, and he expects that the people who say they're willing should back it up. The Brazilian star emphasized that he's not someone who turns fights down. Throughout his career, Oliveira has faced the toughest names in the division, often accepting fights on short notice or under tough circumstances. That's part of what made him a fan favorite and helped him rise to the lightweight title. To him, fighting is what this business is all about, and he believes the fans deserve fighters who are ready to step up, not back away when things get difficult. He pointed out that it's easy to talk but much harder to actually show up. Oliveira has been preparing, training, and staying sharp even though the opponent's situation remains uncertain. He said that fighters who publicly throw their names out for a matchup but privately decline when asked are playing a dangerous game with their reputations. Fans might not know the truth at first, but eventually the reality comes out, and fighters who constantly avoid tough challenges will be remembered for that. As UFC Rio gets closer, Oliveira is still hoping the promotion can lock someone in. He doesn't care about excuses. He doesn't want to hear that the timing isn't right, or that the fight doesn't make sense. What he wants is action, and he wants to put on a show for his people in Brazil. Oliveira ended by making it clear that while others may hesitate, he never does. For him, stepping inside the octagon is not just about fighting, it's about proving that when opportunity comes, you have to take it. That's what being a true fighter is all about.